ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be in this conference. I'm excited to seeing you here. Please, sorry for the delay that we have. There is 45 minutes delay to start this presentation. But I still hope you're going to survive until the end. Before we start, just quick show of hands. Who of you has a back pain right now? All right, one. I was going to ask you to stand up just to wiggle. No, okay. All right. Now, actually, what I wanted to ask is, who of you is related in any way to iOS development, as an iOS developer, product manager, designer? Just raise your hand. Yeah, more or less. All right, so the majority, 10. All right. So for the agenda today, we have some numbers. There was actually a big part with statistics and numbers. Then I will present a little bit about developer tools and my personal experience from development of iOS app, Gnosis Safe. Let's start. So, state of the market. When I was preparing this presentation, I was expecting to find that there are developers, like everywhere, developers of iOS applications that are building for Ethereum. But in reality, when I started to search for the statistics, the reality was more like this. So, plain field. And why is it so? If you look at the App Store, there are 1,840,000 apps on the App Store. And this is huge comparing to what Ethereum dApps existing nowadays. There are 2,300 smart contracts on Ethereum. Here in this number, the dApp is a smart contract. And if you search for the Ethereum keyword on the App Store, you will find 932 apps. So now you can imagine 2,001,000. So if you look at the statistics of the Ethereum, then the daily active users reported by the website stateofthedapps.com is around 16K, and that's counted by the unique source addresses in the transactions. And the top dApp, like the top most used app, has 1.8K daily active users. Compare this with the industry e-commerce app that have literally 100,000. Some of them are millions of users per day. And I know some of the apps, like video chatting, they have 800 million daily users. So this is nowhere near the dApp interaction, and this is nowhere near the iOS app interaction in the apps that are built for Ethereum. The second to top app has around 1,000 daily active users, so twice as few. So if we look at the state of the dApps, this graph shows, so the bar charts show the monthly new smart contracts appearing on Ethereum, and the line shows the cumulative number of apps. So there are roughly, for the last 8 months, there were roughly from 120 to 150 new smart contracts appearing, and most of them are built for the web, so they don't have iOS App Companion. Now, if we take a look into the App Store again, there is almost 2 million apps. And among them, 15% are games. The rest is other categories. If you split the apps by category, then still the games will have the most number of apps in them. Then there goes business, education, lifestyle, utilities, and the long tail of other categories. Most of the apps are free, and comparatively few of them are paid. If we app the whole App Store by the rating that the app receives, and we put, let's say, apps with the 5 stars in the leftmost bar, then we have this distribution of the apps by rating, where we can say, well, there are quite a lot of apps that are perceived as built as really good, so 4.5 to 5 and 5-star rating. There is also quite a lot of apps that are not so good. Speaking about iOS apps for Ethereum, again, 933 apps. If you search for Ethereum keyword, that actually brings you the results that are not only Ethereum focused, but also Bitcoin or any other coin things. So why is it so? Well, there may be different reasons, but so far, if you just search for the keyword dApp, you get this number, 22 results. Well, basically, it depends also on your search. I search on the title and the description, and then I just look through the results. The source of the data around the App Store is, by the way, by the website called 42matters.com. It's a market research tool. So now, if we chart those 933 apps by category of the App Store, then most of the apps are in the finance category. The next two, business and utilities, are actually also usually apps are related to the finance are there. And so you see almost negligible amount of other categories presented on the App Store. Now this little table shows different percentages of apps if you do this precise keyword search. So basically, there are 40% apps that mention wallet. Basically, they are wallets or an exchange, 35%, and small amount of other things. Now, I doubt that this statistic is going to stay the same, and if it's going to stay the same, still these numbers are very small to judge the market. So to actually say there is a market, well, there is something. If we look at the apps with rating versus apps without ratings, though, 36% of those 900 apps have ratings, which is actually twice as the App Store average. App Store average is 17%. And if we put all the apps by the number of ratings, most of the apps have from 5 to 50 rating responses, and there are some of the apps that have hundred thousands of ratings. Next thing is localization. This is a number of languages that the app support. 95% of them support up to 10 languages, 5% or 4.7% support 10 to 20 languages, and very few of them support 20 or more languages. So with all these statistics, and if you actually look at the release and update cycles, there are approximately 40 new apps per month coming if you take a look at the last 6 months. And so most of the apps on the App Store, they have been released 6 months ago or earlier, and 1/3 of them have been released in the last 6 months. What about updates, meaning new versions coming up? Well, 1/3 of the apps have been updated in the last months, so they are more or less active. And around 40% have been updated 6 months ago last time, or even earlier. Here I put the table with apps ranged by rating count. Top two, Coinbase and Robinhood, they have more than 600,000 ratings. And then the next two have 65, or basically the next one is 65, 10 times less. And the next two are roughly 2 times less, so this is like exponential distribution of the ratings. And most of the apps have very few ratings, so below 100. Now, for the numbers, that was it. What are the developer tools? So most of you are developers. Probably you already know what is there. Basically, any app that is building for iOS, it needs to talk to Ethereum, and then it must use cryptography in a way, either through a development kit or directly. And these are the cryptographic libraries or related libraries arranged in the against in ascending order of stars. So some of the libraries are not put here. I just put here the most prominent ones. Trezor Crypto is the library that is built in C. It implements elliptic curve cryptography functions related to public-private key cryptography, and it also implements some of the Bitcoin standards, specifically standards for hierarchical deterministic wallets, and also standards for the mnemonic phrase. This library, big and written in Swift, basically it brings support for the big numbers, and it's used across many other projects, and many libraries also use this one. Then this library is built by Bitcoin, supports the SecP 256K1 elliptic curve parameters. When the elliptic curve parameters will be changed, probably libraries that are using this one, or depending on this one, should change their cryptography provider. Now the next one, you see the range 400, 700, 6,000, and 500. This is CryptoSwift. This is library of cryptographic algorithms written in Swift. Its motto is, why is it in Swift? Because I can. It implements secure hash algorithm 3 and some other hashing and cryptographic algorithms. And then lastly, OpenSSL, or actually that's not the most prominent one. OpenSSL is also used as a dependency to other development kits. Oh no, it's the most popular one. So Ethereum node. What are Ethereum nodes are available for iOS? Sadly, only one, Geth. There is a Go build that you can download and use in your iOS app. So basically, Go can be built, cross-compiled for iOS, and that's the only Ethereum node client that is providing iOS package. Although Rust and C++ can also build libraries for iOS, the Aleph and Parity do not provide iOS packages as of now. So what are the libs development kits? Just list them in the, again, ascending order. Matter Labs has Web3 Swift, 74 stars, written in Swift. Most of these libraries development kits, they implement functionality of the transaction signing, of sending transaction to the Ethereum node. They implement some Ethereum node APIs, interaction, and also help you to create HD wallets, so basically implement several EAPs. Next one, HD wallet kit, basically HD wallets in Swift. This is used in some open source apps, as I think I saw it, but those open source apps were not popular that much. Ether wallet kit. Ether Objective-C, the only Objective-C library that has this many stars, that is related to Ethereum. Then this Web3.Swift, more stars, Ethereum kits, 360 stars, and another one, Web3 Swift. So the common theme here is that you see that the developers have hard times coming up with the names, and select Web3.Swift, capitalized, uncapitalized. Maybe someone will create underscore there. Let's see. So actually, this one is the most prominent library that implements the most features that you need if you want to build a wallet or Ethereum application. It implements the most of the EAPs, and it implements ABI contract parsing and a bunch of other stuff. Oh no, yes, for comparison, Ethereum Web3.js have 7,600, and this one 417. So we're pretty early in the adoption among iOS developers, I would say. So which open source apps, or actually how can you judge which libraries are used by the other apps? Well, the most straightforward one is download all the apps from the App Store, decompile them, or at least open up them and look at the frameworks folder, or decompile them and use and see what static libraries are linked in. But for that, you need all the source, all all the apps downloaded from iTunes, which I didn't do, and I didn't decompile. So what I did, I searched through the GitHub, and I found around 11 apps. I'm not going to go through all 11. I'm going to go through all the apps that have 100 stars or more. Brave browser available for iOS. It's built on top of Mozilla Firefox for iOS, and for the tools, it uses Carthage, Danger, and Fastlane. It's mostly has all the layout in code, and the project itself uses auto layout. It's modular because Mozilla Firefox project is modular, and yeah, quite good. This wallet, Way Wallet, or I don't know how to pronounce it actually, Y Wallet. I have never heard of it, but it has a lot of stars on the GitHub, so I stumbled upon it. It is based on the reactive approach, so it uses RX Swift and RX Cocoa, CocoaPods, Carthage, Fastlane. For database, it uses Realm. Then it again uses Ethereum Kit, which was mentioned before. Stores your secrets in the keychain and uses API Kit to talk to Ethereum nodes through JSON RPC. Oh, sorry, skipped one. Trust Wallet. So Trust Wallet got much of attention. Unfortunately, not much of reviews on the App Store. But here on the GitHub, it has actually around 10 or 5 times more stars on GitHub than on the App Store. Trust Wallet architecture is more or less MVVM with layout done in code. It also uses auto layout, but specifies it in code. It uses these tools, CocoaPods, SwiftLint, Danger, for pull request, that one. Then for, actually the project for Trust Wallet is built is split into 4 different repositories. One of them is SDK, another one is the core part of the app, and so you can check it out. Then finally, the most prominent one is the status app. Why it's the most prominent? Because it has most stars. Why does it have most stars? Well, this app is cross-platform, so it's React Native, and so it has desktop, Android, and iOS all in one project, and it uses Fastlane as a tool, and Realm as their database. This project is mostly built in JavaScript, surprise, and Clojure script, and by far it has the biggest amount of code written across all the apps that I presented. So what can we learn? There are a few of the iOS apps available as the open source, so I cannot draw any statistical conclusions or any causality or cause and effect relationship here. It's just good that there are open source things. I didn't put the app that I worked for here because it has less than 190 stars. But yeah, most of the other apps have like 74 or 20 stars or no stars at all. So personal experience. So there were hard things, developing iOS client that talks to Ethereum. For us, I think the proper architecture infrastructure, I think it is proper in our project. It was one of the hard parts that we tackled early on. And part of that was debugging ABI and hashing. So this might take you some time if you are starting from scratch and you are not familiar with, if you are not familiar with C interfaces or anything like cryptography, that might take you even longer time. For me, for example, to debug the proper way to deserialize the Swift data structures to the Ethereum ABI compatible, it took around a week and a half of try and error and comparison with print and debug prints, so quite fun. And then interaction with, so this is a following theme, interaction with smart contracts through transaction calls. It also, the thing is, the test network are more compatible. Let's say local network is something that you cannot rely on. I mean local Ethereum network, because it has different behavior than the test networks that are deployed. So whenever you need to interact with a smart contract, then you should probably have integration tests working against the test networks. And so this is also one of the hard part, building of iOS applications for Ethereum. Now, user experience is the common pain for the whole team. That is a problem that we were trying to solve. And, well, surprisingly, building the application's user interface was also challenging. Well, I guess that's the common thing across iOS development, comparing to the web development. Good things. So far in our project, we had trustful atmosphere, and I value this a lot because it helps in a good morale, and it allowed us to spend good time on the testing automation, and we had enough time for not introducing the technical debt in the beginning, although we have introduced some closer to the release. And yeah, basically these were the feelings that I've got from the development of iOS apps, of iOS app for Ethereum. So in closing, Ethereum space, especially for iOS, is at the early stage, and the tools and frameworks are starting to emerge. I expect more frameworks to appear, actually. And the whole thing is a challenging and exciting domain. So if you are starting on this, or if you're thinking about to join, that's gonna be, you're gonna be one of the few who are starting early. That's it. Thank you very much, and your questions? Thank you.